It's like
fun.
my evening thing, like right before I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for the edible to kick in and I'll like be going through TikTok. But because I'm looking at it under those circumstances, I like almost every video because I'm like, that's the funniest shit I've ever seen. And then like the next day, I'll look at all the ones I sent Sean you and I'm like, that's not even funny. Like that was a makeup TikTok. Like I don't know, you know what I mean? I'm just like, what was I doing?
Welcome to Spinsters, a podcast where we just have a lot of feelings. I'm Jordan, that's Haley, and we have so many feelings that this is actually a two-parter. So we had a wonderful conversation with Katie Heindl, who is an incredible writer, for her newsletter, Basketball Feelings. And make sure to follow her on Twitter with an incredible handle at WTEBS. And this episode, we just talk about some feelings. We play a fun game. And part 2 of this episode drops tomorrow. So a few housekeeping things. Make sure to listen to our last episode on Cinda, the mother of basketball. We dive into the woman who started women's basketball, who I didn't even know existed. It's an amazing, amazing story. So make sure you listen to that. Also, rate and review, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, especially this weekend because we have some good things coming up because we're going to Vegas.
Woo!
So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out anything. Boom.
I already took cash out for Vegas.
Oh, dang.
I'm really
That's
ready.
Okay.
What
What
do you got? A milkshake, Harry?
Yeah, a little smoothie. Whoa.
Nice.
Banana
Nice.
cocoa smoothie. Yeah.
Sounds thick.
I do a bit of a smoothie Thursday.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
There's so many things tied to days in your routine. Fish
What
Friday,
is-
Smoothie Thursday.
I have
Well,
Snap
Fish
till
Friday
Saturday.
is just for Lent, right? Or do you always do Fish Friday? You're not even Catholic. What are you talking about? What am I talking about? I was like, that's got to be Lent when you brought that up the other day.
It's Fish Friday for the fellas.
You know, I'm not religious at all, and I did Lent when I was all through school because everyone in my fucking small town was so religious, and I just did it because I was like, you guys aren't better than me. Like, I could also give up shit. So one year I gave up meat the entire time. Like, not just Fridays. I gave up meat just to prove to
That's
these
a big
fucking
one.
assholes in 5th grade. Yeah, and the next year I gave up chocolate. And then the year after that, the trend was like giving up
Trend.
TV. Yeah, because it was like, oh, you got to outdo someone. So I gave up meat and everyone was pissed because I didn't tell them until like a couple days in. So then it's like they
Damn.
couldn't do it. And
This is exactly what Lent is for, actually. That's what
I'm not religious.
That's
I'm
what it's
not,
all about.
I'm like not even agnostic. I'm like nothing. And so like this to me was just a competition. If they hadn't been such dicks about it, then I wouldn't have felt the need to like make it a competition.
Okay, that's fair.
But I gave up when they were like, we're giving up TV. I was like, you have fun with that. I also went one time to like a Christian youth conference.
A conference.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
like a.
Oh, lovely.
You been to one of those, Jordan?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, they were.
My
that
whole
was,
school was that. My whole college.
Wow.
Small Christian college right here.
surreal experience. I was in a room of like 800 to 1,000 people, and everyone was like just chanting. And I didn't know any of the songs, and I was just like, this is like, I think not, like I should start saying no to stuff. You know what I mean? That was like a moment in my life where I was like, just don't stop like doing things just because people ask you to. Like, this is not good. Yeah.
It's a really different like youthful experiences that you both had versus that I had. You know?
Did you was like religion big in your town?
Not really. In Toronto, my town.
I
small
didn't
town.
know you like grew up there. I thought
Yeah.
maybe it was-
No, I think the closest I ever had was when I was a kid. I went to like a summer camp and I didn't realize until I got there that it was religious. But the only religious thing was on every Sunday after dinner, you just walked out to this rock by the lake and like sat down and then someone would like sing a song, but it was very like mild. And then I still felt very betrayed by my friend who hadn't told me.
Betrayal.
Oh my God.
But no, I
like,
guess it's just like not as intertwined, right? Like in our education.
Yes,
or
I mean,
like
it was rural
socially.
Indiana. You had
Yeah.
to. Like, I was like literally trying to fit in. And like,
Yeah.
literally, my mom and dad would fucking roast me. Like, they'd be like, "You're going to church again?" Like, and my dad would be like, "Well, do you believe like in the stuff they're saying?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Why are you going?" But I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Because you're like, I don't want to be roasted in the fires of hell.
Yeah, exactly.
Roasted by my parents or
Exactly. So anyway, I always feel like if push comes to shove, like that guy owes me one because I went to so much shit. You know what I mean?
Because you gave up chocolate.
Yeah, I gave up chocolate. I fucking gave up meat.
It's a big one. It's a big one.
I was thinking, I was like, how did we get here? But it was
Fish
It's
fry.
because
making
I
The fish
called
fry.
for
I
lunch.
called Harry Krinsky Catholic.
Yeah.
That's how
But-
we got here.
Well, and Fish Friday is where my friend picks up like a tub of smoked salmon, and we have bagels. It's like the most Jewish thing I do in my life. It's the closest I get to my own Jewish religious experience.
And he's been saying this for months that he's been doing this. So I thought that was.
Oh yeah, because I always thought those were like tins of like anchovies or something. You always bring up like tins of fish because I remember
Oh,
being like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is really niche.
Tin fish is super hot right now, actually. I'd say it is not that niche.
Trendy.
There's all these like bespoke brands of tin fish I'm seeing all around.
Fishwife. Well,
Yeah.
sponsor the
Yeah.
pod.
Yep.
Sponsor the pod, Tin
Yeah.
Wife.
You guys should do a collab.
Collab. Do merch with us,
Spinsters.
Tin Wife.
It's cool. I like
My
that.
wife.
You should have slept,
Why?
man. You should have slept.
Yeah, I should have slept.
Oh.
Today we have Katie Heindl on the show with us. And we want to do something today called, it's a little game that we made up and has never been played before, called Fuck, Marry, Kill, with current NBA situations.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Is that a good way to
situations.
describe it?
That's
okay,
good.
situations. Except we're not really literally doing this. Should we change it to fun, marry, kill?
No. Don't do
Okay.
it.
Katie also doesn't
Don't
like,
do it for me.
Katie, because of her deep religion, doesn't like to cuss. So for her, we were going. She doesn't even like to say the word kill. Yeah. Anyway, we are doing fuck, marry, kill, and essentially, Mary represents an NBA situation that we very much love and want to hold close and want to see where it goes, and we're excited about it and want to fully embrace it. Fuck represents something that excites us and we are curious about it, but we're not ready to commit, perhaps. And kill means something we want to stop, which I might have to do that one first because I feel disoriented by how egregious the situation has become. That is my kill.
Wow.
Should we do any more explaining, or did I do it? I don't know if I said this in the beginning, so if you're listening, I did not sleep last night. I
You have to
didn't.
put that disclaimer.
And I didn't look at my phone for 3 hours. I was telling this to Harry because I was like, this is what happens. Like, you look at your phone and then the light, and you stay up later and you like play the dots game and, like you got to stop doing that. And so I didn't look at my phone, but then like I couldn't even close my eyes. I was so caffeinated. So I was just laying there like this for like hours. And then I started getting on my phone and Elfie got pissed. And so she like this has never happened before. Elvie came up to my face and did like a sideways dive on it. Her whole side of her body was on my face. I was like, "What are you doing?"
She's telling you
She's
to go
looking
to
out for
sleep.
you.
Yeah.
Actually, wow. She's so smart. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, who wants to go first?
Ooh.
Well, if you're that fired up, I
I
think you should go first.
you should set it off because
All right.
I think you need to get it off your chest.
Yeah.
Should I do kill first?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So my kill is all talk about Russell Westbrook. I need it to end. A couple of weeks ago, I needed it to end. A couple months ago was when I couldn't start telling like what was parody and what was real, like literally what was happening, because people would tweet things and maybe, I'm not at the game and so you miss some of it. And then now it's very clear that none of it is a joke. It's all really happened. Like last night was, what is even the word? Like not humiliating, not like secondhand humiliation. I just like it made me like not feel good physically, not just even like, oh, I feel bad for him, because I do, but like physically it made me feel like kind of sick. What was the first thing I saw? Oh, I screenshotted this tweet from Claire, noted NBA Twitter resident, that said Russ just tried to high five Melo and he flatly refused.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Like,
And
that was
bad.
that was the first thing. I was like, let me get on Twitter, see what people are talking about. This is after I called Katie for an hour and talked about how I feel like Twitter is just making my brain turn into little negative, like, you know what I can't
Firing.
right now, and I want to
Firing
say, yeah.
off the negative. Yeah.
Yes. And anyway, so I got on it, and that was the first thing I saw. Last night was just so brutal. Even if you're just watching it like normal broadcast, you can't, under any circumstances, get owned by Patrick Beverley. You just can't. And then you can't get owned by the Timberwolves. I don't care if they've won 9 of their 10 last games. You can't do that.
Lost by 20.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I'm sorry, Jordan, because this is like probably much more hurtful for you than it is for me.
It's okay.
And
it's okay.
did you see when Kat was guarding him in quotes, like 12 feet away?
It's really bad.
Purposefully.
I'm with you. I think all of the talk, because it's not like it's not helping. It's not getting better. And so we're just still, the stats are just still terrible. And I think Kevin O'Connor tweeted that he's 11% from 3 since the All-Star break. Like, that hurts your soul as a basketball fan, as anyone, even if you don't like Russ at all. That is painful to even see that in print. Like, it's printed somewhere.
Did he have what he is finishing at the rim? I'm just
I
curious.
think it was low 60s% from the rim. So his argument was like, why are you even shooting anymore? Like, just
He's Russ.
I know.
Well, and
Jordan, I want to ask you something as like a collective, as like you can speak for the collective of Lakers fans, which I know is kind of a tall order, but my thing with Russ, I'll say it, noted Russ fan, Russ apologist to the ends of the earth, I'll die on that hill, happy to do it. But why is there a surprise? Because to me, when you like hardline to get Russell Westbrook on your team, what is like this, like, I don't know, this kind of like feigned shock and horror at what is happening? Because like he is probably the most specific player and like type of guy in the NBA that is like so beholden to himself, is not going to change. So when you look at like, when you even make criticisms like, well, he's like finishing all right around the rim. Why is he shooting? Because he's Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
So
and that's what he's going to do.
Why are people surprised? Why do like Lakers fans seem confused by this?
Well, I think it was honestly, as a collective, we were split. A lot of people were not happy about the Russ trade because they didn't think he was going to fit. And on the other side, somehow, I think I was over here, a little delusional that he would change and he would mold into what we're trying to accomplish. But you're so right. He's going to do whatever he wants to do, and that's been his identity for his whole career. Why did we think that because he came home to LA, it was going to magically, drastically change? Because I was definitely on the deranged side of like, he's going to be a whole new player. I can't wait to see what Russ we get this season.
But I think
we're getting
you got to
exactly
be a
what we
bit
got.
deranged,
Yeah.
right? To be like, to continue to buy in on Russ. My derangement always comes from thinking the next team will be where he'll like find his home again, right? And like emulate that thing that he had early in OKC. But I guess now the harder reality is like, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
No, I don't think so either. I actually, like, my love has evolved into something that's like for him, not even about him as a player. He is not what he used to be. That's just it. And he's not what he used to be in terms of what he's capable of as a player, but he is still the same person, same mentality. So like, that's where I think this all gets so egregious. But that's also what hurts me, because I really like who he is as a player, and that's what drew me to him in the first place. But I also like how he just doesn't give a fuck. Like he's not getting a lot of the things I just wish I was more of. Like, he does not care what people think of him. He does not care if he fails in front of the world, you know, and maybe it's just that we don't see this side of him, but he genuinely projects this. Even last night, what an embarrassing night from him. And he said, hang on, I wrote it down. He said, no one on the Timberwolves has done anything in the league to make me care about their trash talk. And it's like, that's true, but just for that to roll off of him, like that, I wish I had more of that. And I like being in a place where I get to like observe that of him. And I think the sad thing for me, in addition to the Lakers and their fans and fans outside the Lakers just breaking him, like actively breaking him, is that I know that the end is probably coming. And if not the end, like, you know, the NBA end, which is like, we need to come up with a word for like the equivalent of like taking him out to the farm. You know what I mean? Like some euphemism that means like you are just gonna
end of the road.
Like, yeah, you're gonna like go on the very end of the bench in like Dallas or something, you know?
Yeah,
like,
or you like go to you can like send him to the Kings. That could be the
he won't go out like that.
Yeah,
he'll retire.
He'll
he
be
would
like against the door frame. No, I will not go to the Kings. But I always want to bring this up when we talk about Russ, because I know we have to talk about feelings and our basketball feelings.
Thank you.
His wife is a therapist, and I think we have to give that a little more credit of his mental health and like how he can still go out there and still be himself. I'm sure they have some great coping mechanisms. I'm sure they talk a lot, and he has a lot of sessions. And so that is a part of his game that I think even when he was at the highest of his highs, at the lowest of the lows, he's stayed consistent. He hasn't been on this roller coaster of emotion that we've seen, at least. And I got to give credit to Nina for that. She's probably helping a lot.
Yeah. Sometimes with Russ, what I will say, especially this year with the Lakers, is sometimes I do feel like the Lakers franchise and fans by extension really want players to be beholden to them, you know, and really just like, this is like the best place you can be in the league, you know? And I think like LeBron exemplified that when he chose to go there. Theoretically, the end of his career, that we'll see what happens. But I think because Russ he's not beholden to that franchise, because he's not really beholden to anybody. And I wonder if like the rejection of that maybe irks some people.
Oh, it totally does. And that's why, like, to be clear, all of the things that Patrick Beverley and Kat did last night to mess with Russ, that's fair game. I'm not anti. Like that. Those
I
are
mean,
the
that's
things
Patrick Beverly too.
yeah, and I
Bless
enjoy
him.
it. Like
Yeah.
it's good for Carl,
feud.
you know, some hair on his chest. But like that's basketball. They're his competitors. Like that's a different situation than being a fan who's watching from home, like on a laptop. You know what I mean? Like where's your TV? You can't even afford cable. And so
Come on.
you know what I mean? Like I'm really trying to turn off the cynicism overall because right now like everything's just a lot, but part of me feels like the fans pile on so much to Russ specifically, not just because he doesn't feel this like I'm gonna bow down, like this is the greatest organization ever, but also it's just always about the money. Like they're like, well, you're making so much money, you know. It's like always comes back to that, as if the fact that you are watching and purchased League Pass on your laptop does not directly correlate, you know, eventually down the road to the amount of money that is set for these players to make. I always go back to something that David Griffin told me, which was I forget who I was talking to him about. It was some player who had gotten a very large contract, and he was like, that is not something that we typically regret. Like these are, the money is set because at that time this is what value your game has. And so fans just view this thing as, I don't want to like police how you can talk about and enjoy basketball. If you want to be a dork, like go be a dork. I don't care. But what I do care is when you overstep and then it's like you have this obsession with humbling him that has always been the case with athletes who don't cater to people. So yeah.
The contract obsession is like weird. That is weird to me. I'm not, again, I don't want to be judgmental of people's very personal fandoms and the way they experience that. But this like GM emulator like scenario that it seems like every season more and more people are just like getting right into. It's like, why do you care? What is a good, quote, good/bad contract, right? As you said, Haley, it's like these are kind of stamps in time as best as they can be made that are going to kind of be redundant a month even from then, like good or bad, right? They could be lower value. They could be higher value. It could be a steal, a bargain. It's gross to talk about people like that.
Yeah.
And two, it's just like, what a boring way to like experience the game. It's not your money. Like, why are you being so protective of billionaires? They don't care. They spent the money.
Yeah, it's really
Such a
weird.
good
And
point.
why does it always, and then it always skips like the owners. It's these people are the players who are fortunate enough to make enough to become millionaires off of their salaries. They have a limited amount of time to play this game, and then it's over for them. And they're not going to make that kind of money anymore doing anything unless they're Michael Jordan. You know, unless you have like the most popular sneaker brand in basketball. So it's so limited, like, and to be upset at the player for making money that in his or her career, GMs, people at the top of this pretend profession that you're playing on Twitter think is worth it because they signed them. Like, what? Why are you so upset? I don't know. It confuses me. And even when somebody is playing as poorly as he is, this sounds so, I don't know. I feel like I'm not saying anything new, but like you can call someone's game ass without calling them like as a person ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Aristotle said that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that. I know that quote from Aristotle. It's a good one.
Anyway, that's my kill. I feel bad for Russ. I think people are being annoying and it's making me.
Yeah. I would be okay if we just
Upset.
stopped. If everyone just went silent on Russ for the
Same.
rest of the season.
Yeah.
That was a good one, Haley. I'll go.
Okay.
So mine also goes with what we should stop talking about, but also stop doing. So I want to kill the take foul. That is my number one thing of when there's a fast break and somebody fouls somebody and they just throw up the hand and they do the take foul. But more importantly, I want to kill the idea of Stan Van Gundy making it his mission to say that every single game that he broadcasts and every single take foul that he happens. It's like he's campaigning for it and he has a script ready every single time that there's a take foul. It happens and I'm like, oh God, here's Stan. He's going to say, he's like, you know what? I think we should get rid of the take foul in the NBA. It is ruining the game. And instead of seeing somebody do an incredible dunk, we have to sit here and review it to see if it's a clear path foul. It's taking away from the game. And he does this whole spiel every single time.
You are so right.
I don't know if, I mean, I do want to take away the take foul and I'm very passionate about it, but even more so, let's take it away just so we can stop hearing Stan Van Gundy's agenda to take away the take foul.
He's not a man who's got a ton of patience, huh? So I think that's probably why he's campaigning very hard for it. A part of me also feels like Stan Van wants to get into politics. So I feel also that maybe that's why he's like, this is the rule of politics. You just repeat yourself over and over about your platforms and the things you feel most strongly about. But I have to admit, I don't get those broadcasts, so I don't get to hear it. Oh. So like, it would still be a novelty. Just because I'm listening to you, I'm like, I feel like I wouldn't mind hearing that. I get fired up by Stan hearing
those broadcasts. What do you mean?
I mean, I don't like his. In Canada, there are two broadcast, like major broadcast sports like companies owned by our two major telecom companies. So they will play the games. So I don't usually get to like, he's not my regular commentary guy. You know, I don't usually get to hear. He's on TNT, right?
So what if you did like watch an
illegal stream?
TNT like website. You know what I mean?
I don't think I can do that because I think they have a geo, what's it called?
Like your provider.
I know what
it's like, you know, when it's like, this is not available in your
in your area. Yeah.
You have to get a
something like
fake
that.
IP address.
Yeah, clearly.
This is how
help me out, hackers. Yeah. I need to hear Stan complain.
Yeah, she needs to hear Stan complain.
Who am I? I remember, Katie, when you wrote about Stan when he was like got on Twitter and he was like so cool and progressive, and then like literally a month later he said something like really stupid about 9/11.
Yeah, that's how it goes though, right? It's like too much of a good thing. It very quickly like boils over. But I will say that when I did that interview and Stan, it's still like one of my most favorite because like he called me and he was like yellow, like really flustered, just like couldn't wait to get started, like just sounded like he was on the move, you know. And then I had to be like, is this a good time for you, even though you called me? That was great.
Did he really say yellow?
Yes.
Aww.
I love that. Well, you should say that on the broadcast and not this campaign.
Like that's
True.
his bang. Yellow.
Yeah. Hey, now that's good.
You'd get sick of that though too, right? Too much of anything. You couldn't.
Yeah.
Yellow would wear out pretty quick.
It would.
Yeah, I think that would still take him over Jeff. Because Jeff is like full grump for like the past 6 years.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Stan is like still sort of not a grump. Like he is on certain things, and he's going on that like soliloquy on take fouls. But you know, sometimes he seems to enjoy the game. So I like that when announcers enjoy the thing that they are telling us about.
They're doing. For him too, for Stan. You know, he went into broadcasting right after losing his job as the Pelicans coach. And I feel like that's always awkward when he is calling his former team. And I remember one game they were raving about the new Pelicans coach, and he just had to agree and just say like, wow, what a great guy. Like, what a great coach for these young kids. And it's like, yeah, that was just your job. That's kind of hard.
That's gotta suck. Yeah, I can't think of like, no, probably not many people can think of a work equivalent that they, like that's
The
gotta
Mark
suck.
Jackson special. Yeah,
Yes,
that sucks.
that's what it
that was
is.
actually pretty funny though, because I don't love Mark Jackson. I don't even like him, to be honest. Okay, Katie, what are you gonna kill?
Yeah, I'm gonna kill. So I have to really be clear that like the person this is about is like the farthest thing away from what I'd want to kill, but I hate what they're doing. So I hate that Jared Allen feels like he has to opt out of surgery to rush back to the Cavs. I hate it so much. I feel like, yeah, I've enjoyed and like been super enthralled by watching that team. They are like in this cool, weird experiment that's like obviously like had been way more strategic than anyone gave them credit for and has paid off in spades. I love huge teams. So they're like my perfect gargantuan, but still fun and fast. And like they like really love each other. There's so much chemistry. So I get wanting to lean in on what feels like this is the window. But the whole point of that lineup is there's longevity to it. And this doesn't need to be the window. And with a player like Jared Allen, who is like, I think, developed himself as consistently as he has through his entire career, like his short career up to now, but has now found this like very specific, wonderful niche with the Cavs. Why are you like putting that in jeopardy, especially with the injury luck that they've had, that team has had this season? So I get the inclination to want to be like, well, we're all in on this season. Like, who knows how far we could go in the postseason. But when they've slipped as far as they have in the standings, like, are you looking at a play-in situation? Like, are you looking at maybe like a first-round exit? To me, the urgency does not stack up against like the potential like harm. Like, what if he gets more hurt? Like, and what if like a surgery then isn't going to fix the thing it fixed initially, or it's like gets way more complicated, right? And like, he's a really young guy. I hate that kind of stuff. I don't think it's worth forfeiting your already short window of a career, and I understand for him, he's a competitor. Like, he wants to be there for his teammates because they've like built such strong chemistry with one another. And like, I think they do really want, like, they believe that they would get very far if they got there. But again, like, that squad has been built to be like a competitor almost probably more next season. So like, do the surgery and take care of yourself. That's what I would kill.
No, that makes sense. Part of me, I was thinking about this last night because I was watching the Nets. And Dinwiddie hit that game winner, which was that the second he's done in a row?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking about that Nets team that was so much fun.
Yes.
When we did, I didn't even for real know Joe Harris could like shoot that well. Like, I just, there were all these like fun discoveries like Jared Allen and Spencer Dinwiddie. And I loved that team, and I was thinking about them. And I was also thinking about like from Dinwiddie's point of view, I don't know, like, do they ever think about what it could have become? Which is all to say, like, for this, I wonder if some of it as a player overall, or just like Jarrett specifically because of his experience being traded, like, I wonder if he feels like you've got to show that you're giving it everything you can give it, because otherwise you could be gone. Like you said, he developed so well in Brooklyn, and people hated to see him go, even people who weren't Nets fans, because he deserved to be on a winning team. That's how I remember it feeling, is like, man, he would be so fun with these guys, but also like, he deserves this. I thought all of those Nets did, which obviously you can't keep everyone, and also get like a bunch of superstars. It's just not how it works. But anyway, I wonder if some of it is fueled by, okay, well, I was traded after doing wonderfully, so I'm going to opt out of surgery to come back prematurely.
Maybe, but like, I remember in that trade, because he was part of like the big Harden deal, and it felt like the Cavs had like gotten away with like a train robbery. Like, I wrote about it. I remember like, that's what it felt like. I was like, this is the best. He is the best part of that huge blockbuster trade. And I think the Cavs realized that, because they weren't going to land him like in free agency, right? Like they weren't going to land him over the summer. So I do really feel like they recognize what they have in him. And I think and I believe, and yeah, I would probably I'm like, what would I stake on it? My career, maybe for Jarrett. But I would say that I would stake, my wholehearted belief that they want to keep him regardless.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, JB doesn't want Mobley to stay at the 5. He's said that multiple times, even though he's doing fine or good, honestly. But yeah, you're right. And God, it's funny thinking about that trade now, even from that perspective, because it's Harden's gone. So
yeah.
Good job, Cav. Let's take a break for ads, and then Harry, do you have a kill?
Yes. My kill has to do with Jordan Poole. It has to
Big
do.
surprise.
Yeah, right. Who just had a great game last night. The Warriors it's really the doldrums of the Warriors season right now, especially with this maybe ligament situation with Steph. But Poole has obviously been like a huge bright spot. But I haven't been in this situation as a Warriors fan in a long time where Poole, I'm worried he's gonna leave. It seems like the market is gonna be bigger than we can pay him. Which, on the one hand, I love for him. I want him to make as much money as he possibly can, and all that. But I also want him to stay. So I've decided that my fuck is the place that if he can't be with me for the rest of our lives, he can be somewhere else, which I will save. But my kill is him ending up on the Kings, $120 million 4-year deal on the Kings. And he becomes one of these players that is good stats, bad team, low efficiency, puts up 23 a game, but kind of basketball nerds don't like it. I don't want that for him. I want him, unless it's one specific place in the tri-state area. But I outside of that, I just do not want him on one of those teams where somebody offers him, some small market team offers him a really, really big contract and he takes it because he's a smart guy, but then ends up in a tricky basketball situation. So I either want the Warriors to offer him a big contract, a certain big market team to offer him a big contract, or that's it.
Those are your only options.
Yeah.
Harry, we all just talked about our religion, so just say the team you're implying.
Sure. My fuck is Jordan Poole as a New York Knick. I think
Okay. All right.
Okay. Now we're talking.
It is the only kind of ethical non-Warriors situation.
That's a good fit.
It's also a horrible fit, right? It's the perfect Knicks thing to do, to overpay for a guard who played well in a really specific situation, right?
And put immense pressure on him.
Yeah. It's
immediately.
It's perfect. But I think that's what the Knicks need. I think that the only way through it is through it, and they just need to keep doing Knicks style maneuvers until one works. And I can't think of somebody better than Jordan Poole. And, there's a big Michigan alumni network in New York. I live in New York. I
You can get him in a fish Friday for the fellas.
Yeah, get him a little tin.
He can come.
Tin Wife.
Absolutely. He can come
This episode of Spinsters brought to you by Tin Wife.
I love this. This is
Yeah. So that would be my fuck. Is I really would love him on the Knicks. I just could. I mean, the even if it happened once every 3 months, him getting 32 in the Garden is the coolest thing I can ever imagine. So
the Knicks just kind of rotate these
Yeah.
complementary pieces that they've positioned to be centerpieces.
Their next
Julius
best
Randle's
hopes.
there right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
But Tibbs would love Jordan Poole because the like player consensus hardest working guy or most intense guy, I guess, in the league is Draymond, and Draymond always brings up his work ethic. I never see a clip on Twitter of Draymond talking about Jordan Poole without him saying something about like the Kim K clip. Did you guys see that where she's like, no one wants to work anymore?
Yes.
Like literally that's
Oh
Draymond
my
Green.
God.
Except he's like, Jordan Poole does want to work. You know what I mean? So yeah, that would be an amazing fit for multiple reasons. But yeah, it'd be much better that he goes to a large market that is performing like a small market that doesn't want to spend money. Not that they haven't. That's just the outcomes are similar.
And isn't gonna like burn him out in a year and a half, 2 years. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They will love him and then turn on him so fast, just as Knicks fans.
Like we were talking about the delusion it takes to be a Westbrook supporter, but I feel like the ultimate delusion is like the Knicks formula.
Totally.
It just like every 2 seasons being like, no, this is our guy and he's gonna be the one.
And they
to do
believe it. Like
it's for
fully,
real
like,
this time.
Yeah, that's their religion.
that is their religion. Jordan, when you were like, I was a little bit delusional, you know, I bought into Westbrook and I was like, this can work. Like that is the extent of it, I think, for Lakers fans. I think that maybe the delusion like comes in other forms a little bit. Like maybe and I'm not saying you.
It probably
my
is.
favorite person in the world. But like,
Oh my
you know,
God.
the thing that Katie was talking about where she said this idea that the player should like, oh my God, I'm so excited to play here. And like, this is the best place. I don't want to play anywhere else. And like, I love you guys. Love all of your fans. Everyone's so nice to me. And I'm indebted to you. Maybe that's like the delusion of Lakers fans. But the Lakers don't even come close to Knicks fans' delusion on a new player. Like a player will come in who every blog, every podcast was like, I don't want this player. If we draft him, like it's all going in the shitter. And then literally the minute, like it takes probably like 34 seconds without the Mississippi in between. And like everyone's like, you know what? Never mind. I'm psyched. This is our guy. You know, that's Knicks fans. So Jordan, you guys are not even close to that.
Appreciate that.
I used to produce a Knicks podcast, and we were doing season preview episodes like about Kevin Knox this year.
That is so on brand.
Kev! Oh no. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Should I do my marry or my fuck?
We can keep with the fucks because Harry kicked it off.
Yeah, he
Okay.
kicked us off.
I have a lot written down about this. Oh, right. Oh God, I don't know if I like have the brain capacity to say what I planned on saying last night, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Just know that I am feeling very
Loose.
much loose, but also like feeling like maybe people should just be given some grace, because I've been researching for this project where reporters specifically, but also fans, were horrible to these players. And yeah, I'm working on it now, and I just am reading stuff from like 1996 that says like thugs, and I honestly don't even want to get into it because it's like so much stuff. But basically the way that they're painting players is horrible and regrettable completely, and avoidable. I don't think we can place blame. We can always absolve blame by saying like that was just back then and that's how people talked, which is why I say I'm trying to bring that to this subject, to afford a person, a real human being, a teensy tiny bit of grace, because I don't like the way he's covered. Okay, so what I want to have as my fuck entry, yeah, I'm not going to use that as a direct verb, is the happy-go-lucky, sometimes unlucky, like last night, Nets and King Kyrie. Okay, let me just present my case.
Okay.
And then I do want you guys to check me if
Here we go.
Yeah.
if it's a bad opinion, then that's fine. I've watched a lot of bad basketball the last 2 years. You know what I mean? We all have. Like, there's been really bad basketball. But this isn't about me. Like I said at the top, the essence of the fuck entry is like something that's very tempting and full of lust. And to me, that is Kyrie Irving dropping 60 and KD dropping 43 the game before. What was that rom-com where they were like, was it Ben Affleck? It's always Ben Affleck. Where Ben Affleck was like, I need you to be happy for me to even have a chance to be happy. You guys know what rom-com I'm talking about?
If it's a Ben Affleck rom-com, I feel like that's got to be a few years ago.
Yeah.
He cycled himself out of those.
Jiggly.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah,
he went back to like, I'm gonna be really grumpy in cloudy Boston. We only
It's like, I'm
shoot
going to
on
play
days.
myself in every
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
including
Yeah.
Gone Girl. Yeah.
Yes, that was very revealing. Yes. Did Armas, did they break up?
Yeah, he's with
Oh yeah,
J-Lo.
they did because J-Lo.
J-Lo.
God,
Where you been?
No, actually, me and Jordan talked about this on the show, like when it first happened. So, again, I would like to plead that I didn't sleep last night, and I feel like
Fair.
you guys are
Fair. Sorry.
not
Giving
being
grace.
considerate of me.
We're giving grace.
Yeah. Our
So
bad.
that line where he's like, I'm pretty sure this is a real thing, and I'm not just making it up. I need you to be happy for me to even have a chance to be happy. I need KD to be on a fun team that has a chance of winning stuff for me to even have a chance to be happy. Okay? So that brings me to my next point, which is not me overlooking the bad things that Kyrie has said about the vaccine and promoted, but just saying that multiple things can be true at once. I wrote these down because I didn't want to mix my words. Okay, number one of the things that can be true at once. I think Kyrie should have got the vaccine. I think I could take the I think off the top front of that sentence. He should have got the vaccine. The way he talked about it, number two, was irresponsible. Totally.
Yes.
Number three, the way sports writers and media, TV, Stephen A., Skip, I'm sure, Colin, I don't even want to imagine, have talked about Kyrie prior to this incident. And then also, I'm talking about him deciding to not get vaccinated and then using his platform to make it seem like it's a bad and dangerous thing. Prior to this and then using this prior anger to add it on to how they talk about him not wanting to get the vaccine. It's always going to be loaded in a really inappropriate way because they hate him. And they hated him long before he chose to not be vaccinated. They hated him long before the pandemic. They hated him, what do you guys think? Like probably since he left Cleveland, right? Was it the first like instance of his reputation going sour?
I
Because he
think
wanted
so.
out and people are like, why would you leave LeBron? Like, you're
Yeah,
selfish
that's true.
and blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Then it got worse in Boston. Yeah.
And then it got worse. Yeah. And then it progressively got worse. And it's because he is, in their eyes and in their words, the most difficult, petulant child. I Googled him just to see what people were saying. And this is from a piece on Yahoo that was published yesterday. Quote, wherever Kyrie Irving looks, he finds people to blame and those willing to exercise meaningful social capital to champion him. There's always a reason, a drawn-out story, and explanation. When he went on a 2-week staycation last season, the Brooklyn Nets supported him. That was not a staycation. Like, Which is kind of my whole point, and I do think that a lot of this comes from me reading all this old media coverage and just being really upset at the way that people talked about, or maybe I should say conflated, like, two different situations.
Mm-hmm.
Some things are really bad, and other things are not bad. And when you ignore our collective kind of agreement that we've had since the pandemic that work can be really stressful, and like working in this environment is not easy, and so many things have happened in society that we kind of just need to allow people to take a break. Like, when you ignore that just because you don't like Kyrie, that's when I have to step into this seat of, like, well, you don't step into seats. I have to sit in this seat of, like, defending him. I feel like it's a lot like Kim K and what's going on right now, because I'm not a fan of hers by any means. I think she's done so many things that are so stupid and, like, irresponsible and harmful, and, like, she just, has co-opted a bunch of stuff. But when people say that she deserves everything Kanye's doing right now, okay, so now I have to defend this person who I don't even like. Or not defend, but kind of just, like, beg for some nuance.
Yeah.
Or for, what, like I said before, like, two things can be true at once. So, yeah. And then there's the New York mandate, which I genuinely, I don't think that they have thought through, because, okay, people in the stands don't have to wear the masks and they don't have to be vaccinated anymore. But to be performing, or an artist or a player, you have to be vaccinated. Harry, you can tell me if that's wrong.
Well, and only if you're a part of the team, because as Adam Silver said, people from away teams who aren't vaccinated can still play. So only if you are a part of the team. That's the craziest part. A lot of people forget that part. So we don't even know who else is unvaccinated in the NBA, because they can still play when they come to Brooklyn and New York. It's only because Kyrie is a part of the organization. That's what makes it a little more, that makes it very gray area and blurry.
And I think what I'm just asking is, like, it's not like I'm just ready to forget that Kyrie spewed all this stuff that I hated. And, I was like, why are you doing this? This is, like, you don't have to do this. You can just not get vaccinated. But some things, like, when they don't make sense, I don't want to just, like, go along with it in this, like, showy Nancy Pelosi way, where she just says, like, this thing is bad and, like, I'm gonna do this thing, which, like, is actually not helpful or, like, makes sense or anything. And who has more space, more chance of, like, being 6 feet away or whatever, has more breathing room, a person in a crowd of 20,000 people, or a person who's 1 of 10 on a court? It's just that it doesn't make sense. Either stick to what you were going to stick to from the beginning, which is, like, hey, we're not doing this. Like, you have to be vaccinated, or you can't be in this arena. Or get rid of it all, because what you're doing does not make sense. And it's not protecting people. Instead, you're just making this weird rule that I just don't understand. But again, I will say, and you guys can check me on it, I'm not saying that he should not have done the things that he did at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. And so
That's
if
my
I'm
fuck.
yeah, I was going to say, so if I'm getting this right, like, your fuck is that the glimpses that we have seen of Kyrie has been really exciting and great. And I think I heard last night that he only has technically, like, 3 more games this season, which is wild. And it has been really fun to watch him play basketball, but it's hard to kind of separate that from why he is actually only playing 3 more games. And once we really think about it and put it in context, that part of him spewing things and having a very strong opinion on something that we don't really agree with is hard to separate. Did I get that right?
Well, yes. It's basically
Okay.
that, like, my fuck is I love watching the Nets now. after they were so disappointing and like a balloon that was just like you just let go of and you can just see it kind of just constantly deflating and has like a really annoying noise the whole time and you're like, when is this gonna end? Like, I hate this. And then all of a sudden they're so like, you can see it, they like playing together, they're full of life, they're cheering each other on, and it's the thing I want for KD. It's what I want for the Nets. And then I felt like I should give a long disclaimer about the things I've been feeling about Kyrie and that situation, because I can't just blanketly, you know, oh, I love the Nets and like I like watching Kyrie score 60 points. Although, guess what? I do. You know, it's just that also like, why did you say that about the vaccine?
Yeah.
Fuck. You know, people act like before this. I'm not saying the vaccine stuff. The Lucky thing, him stepping on the leprechaun, him wanting out of Boston, him taking like 2 weeks off in the middle of like a genuinely extremely stressful time. Like those aren't crimes. Okay. Like those are not crimes. He's not criminal. Like the way that people are talking about him, I think is really inappropriate. And then the vaccine stuff happened.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about nuance, and I don't think Kyrie Irving has ever really been a player who's been allowed the kind of nuance that a lot of his, like, even I'd say like colleagues in stardom have been allowed. I think, you know, when he left the Cavs, it wasn't like I don't recall that it was because he like forced his way out under like bad circumstances that we've seen other stars do. I think he just kind of wanted to carve his own path, right? And then he was seen as like difficult. I mean, but everybody for the most part is seen as difficult in Boston if they're kind of not willing to toe like a very specific team line,
if they're
right?
not Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Yeah. So yeah, like I was definitely a defender of Kyrie, but I guess Haley, when you were talking about the more like overarching nuance, I think of public health, and before that you mentioned kind of the public trust that we have in terms of like our agreements about work and things like that. To me, when Kyrie kind of overstepped the public trust that we have of like public health and the protections that we need to take with one another in terms of like responsibility, that's to me when like it just went sideways. And
that's fair enough.
I think the, you know, if you want to talk about nuance, the overarching problem with that and like with what is happening with the vaccine mandates, not just in New York, I mean, it's happening in Canada too, but like certainly all over the States, is like when everything is regulated at a different level, there's no like continuity anywhere, right? And so as these kind of guards are dropped, it's going to fluctuate so much in terms of like what makes sense. Everything just feels like a loophole right now. And I think as Kyrie is someone who like, to me, it feels like, I think what feels bad about it is like, and I don't want this to sound like people can't change their minds, because people absolutely can. But there's something about what Kyrie, like what's happening now is almost like he was like trusting for this to happen, for like this loophole to eventually happen, and like this decision that he made to
totally.
kind of abstain
Like, that's
would
what
just
they're
like,
coming on.
yeah, it was just like, well, eventually it's not going to matter. And like something about that, I guess, to me goes back to that idea of like a public trust and like a sense of responsibility for like everyone. And I feel like he deviated from that. And I guess that just bothers me personally.
No, I mean, it should definitely bother you.
I'm sorry to shame. I don't want to shame you for your fuck.
No, it's not. I actually think that we're basically saying the same thing, because when I was talking about the collective, like, oh God, work sucks right now, like that was before that was 2020.
Yeah.
So like to just ignore that, I think I'm just angry that people who have always kind of dog whistled him are now being like, see, like he's bad because I told you he's bad for all these things that like weren't bad.
Yes.
And so that's like my main irritation. My second irritation isn't even it's what you were saying about there's inconsistencies, and that's like the classic US thing. Because the states are all under different rules throughout this pandemic. But New York, like, what are you doing? If you think it's inappropriate that an unvaccinated player is playing, then I support that. You know what I mean? But then then you're being really contradictory. So either like take a full stance that makes sense, or figure out how to not be so inconsistent, because that is frustrating. I think I'm annoyed at them for being if you're gonna recant, then like recant.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Kind of wishy-washy. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Whew. Took me on a journey there, but that
Yeah.
was
Well, you know what? I needed
That
to
was a
talk
good
it
one.
out though, because
yeah, I'm glad you did. It seemed like you needed to let that one out.
I did, because but it depends on the person, but I've been having different like stances on Kyrie in conversations with different people for the last like 2 years, depending on what their stance is. Because sometimes I'm like, what do you mean you don't care that he didn't get vaccinated? Like, he said all of this out loud, you know, and I know a lot of people are like, well, he has no obligation to whatever. I'm sorry, you can't say the things like he's saying, Aaron Rodgers is saying. You just, if you don't want it, just don't get it, and then stop talking. But then in other conversations, they're like, you know, he and he's such a bad guy, and like he was so bad for Boston, and I just think that
They're not mutually exclusive.
They're not.
Yeah.
Stepping on a leprechaun,
exactly.
not getting the vaccination.
Not the same.
A leprechaun on a cord, not a real one. Like, yeah. That's
it's happy St. Patrick's Day, guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, Kyrie. Yes,
Go
but
stomp
anyway,
a leprechaun.
I don't know. Do you guys have the same thing with Kim Kardashian, where you're like, stop, like?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's weird that like domestic abuse is like being normalized also to me, because like they're like, Kanye West is an artist. Like this is menace.
Wild.
Yeah, it's like not. That's what I don't like. That it feels extremely gross and like frankly kind of dangerous to me.
Very dangerous. Very gross.
Extremely dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would probably be the first person to say I'm not a Kim Kardashian fan or the whole Kardashian family, but this is it's like what you were explaining, Haley. You kind of go into like mama bear mode. You're like, no, I'm gonna protect this person because this isn't right, and you're just standing up for what you feel is right, and that is regardless. Everything else gets pushed to the side because you feel like you're standing up for what's important. And with the whole thing with Kim Kardashian, it's like, no, this is not okay, and we need to stop it right now. And regardless if you downloaded Kanye's album or not, or you watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians,
the $200 thing.
Yeah, the
to
speaker.
To play the album, yeah.
Doesn't matter. We have to stick to what is right and what's important. So, yeah, Mama Bear mode can be activated in multiple ways.
You just made me realize something, Jordan, when you were saying that, because it's more like I'm not protecting. I shouldn't say I'm protecting Kyrie. I think I'm like shielding against like, don't just think you can talk about this person openly the way you were before, just because you know I'm not happy with him. You know what I mean? And then also, I'm trying to grapple with the fact that I just really like watching the
Every time, when Katie's on, we get all in our feelings. Look at us go. We're just spewing them out. This feels so great.
They're very therapeutic, man.
It is.
It's good.
It is.
It's good.
Well, that's our show for today. Part 2 drops tomorrow, so make sure to come back and hang out with us. And also leave us a voicemail. Tell us what you're feeling, because we always want to know. Call us at 502-874-4453 or send us an email at spinsters@bluewirepods.com to be featured on the show. And as always, shout out to our producer, Harry Krinsky.
Hey, this is Richie. I'm calling from Houston, Texas, and I want to see the Rockets pick up Jalen Green tomorrow. Yeah, that's about all I need in my life. Thanks so much.